Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, The Passing Away of Bhishmadev, text number 46. Tasya nihara nadini sampare tasya bhargava yudhishthira karayitva muhurtam dukkito bhavat tasya nihara nadini Samparitasya Bhargava Yudhishthira Karayitva Muhurtam Dukkito Bhavat. Ladies. Anyone else? Tasya, his, Nirharana, Adini, funeral ceremony, Samparitasya, of the dead body, Bhargava, O descendant of Bhrigu, Yudhishthira, Maharaj Yudhishthira, Karayitva, having performed it, Muhurtam, for a moment, Dukkitaha, sorry, Abhavat, became. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O descendant Bhrigu, Sonaka, after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhishmadev, Maharaj Yudhishthira was momentarily overtaken with grief. Purport: Bhishmadev was not only a great family head of Maharaj Yudhishthira, but he was also a great philosopher and friend to him, his brothers and his mother. Since Maharaj Pandu, the father of the 5 brothers, headed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, had died, Bhishmadev was the most affectionate grandfather of the Pandavas and caretaker of the widow daughter-in-law Kunti Devi. Although Maharaj Dhritarashtra, the elder uncle of Maharaj Yudhisthira, was there to look after them, his affection was more on the side of his 100 sons, headed by Duryodhana. Ultimately, a colossal clique was fabricated to deprive the 5 fatherless brothers of the rightful claim of the kingdom of Hastinapur. There was great intrigue, common in imperial palaces, and the 5 brothers were exiled to the wilderness. But Bhishmadev was always a sincerely sympathetic well-wisher, grandfather, friend, and philosopher to Maharaj Yudhisthira, and even up to the last moment of his life, he died very happily by seeing Maharaj Yudhisthira to the throne. Otherwise, he would have long ago quitted his material body instead of suffering agony over the undue sufferings of the Pandavas. He was simply waiting for the opportune moment because he was sure and certain that the sons of Pandu would come out victorious in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, as his lordship, Sri Krishna, was their protector. As a devotee of the Lord, he knew that the Lord's devotee cannot be vanquished at any time. Maharaj Yudhisthira was quite aware of all these good wishes of Bhishmadev, and therefore he must have been feeling the great separation. He was sorry for the separation of a great soul, and not for the material body which Bhishmadev relinquished. The funeral ceremony was a necessary duty, although Bhishmadev was a liberated soul. Since Bhishmadev was without issue, the eldest grandson, namely Maharaj Yudhisthira, was the rightful person to perform this ceremony. It was a great boon to Bhishmadev that an equally great son of the family undertook the last rites of a great man. Text number 49. All the great sages and glorified Lord Sri Krishna was present there by confidential Vedic hymns. Then all of them returned to their respective hermitages, bearing always Lord Krishna within their heart. Purport: the devotees of the Lord are always in the heart of the Lord, and the Lord is always in the hearts of the devotees. That is the sweet relation between the Lord and his devotees. Due to unalloyed love and devotion for the Lord, the devotees always see him within themselves. And the Lord also, although he has nothing to do, nothing to aspire to, is always busy in attending to the welfare of his devotees. For the ordinary living beings, the law of nature is there for all actions and reactions, but he is always anxious to put his devotees on the right path. The devotees therefore are under the direct care of the Lord, and the Lord also voluntarily puts himself under the care of his devotees only. So all the sages headed by Vyasadeva were devotees of the Lord, and therefore they chanted the Vedic hymns after the funeral ceremony just to please the Lord, who is present there personally. All the Vedic hymns are chanted to please Lord Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15. All the Vedas, Upanishads, Vedantas, etc. are seeking him only, and all the hymns are for glorifying him only. The sages therefore perform the exact act suitable for the purpose, and they happily departed for their respective hermitages. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyadyade Sadarane. The gopis, they sing in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Tavakatam Ritam, Tapta Jivatam, Kavibir Iditam, Kamalasarpanam, Srimad Atatam, Sarvamangalam, Srimad Atatam, Sarvamangalam, Srimad Atatam, Buri Grinanti Ye Burida Jana. So Tabakatamritam, the talks about Krishna are full of nectar. Tapta Jivanam, and they relieve the sufferings of the living entities in the material world. Srimad Atatam, and they're full of, well actually the next one is, they're full of transcendental potencies that can be spread all over the world. And Kamala Sarpanam, and they free one from all sinful reactions. Sarva Mangalam, they're full of auspiciousness. And then the next one, Srimad Atatam, then their glory, their potency is spread all over the world. Bhuvi Grinanti, so let, in this world, let it, Krishna's fame and name and pastimes be spread. Yea, Buddhidajana, and those who are great personalities, then that's their business, is to spread the glories of Krishna. So here the sages are chanting the Vedic hymns, because by chanting Krishna is present, and by chanting Krishna's glories by the devotees, actually Krishna's glories even increase more. When Krishna experiences the love of his devotees, then he develops more love, and therefore he becomes more appreciative. Now, as far as the other thing, the devotees are never vanquished, because Bhishmadev was a devotee. Question was, he was vanquished. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, or actually, Sanjaya said, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanardara, Tatra Shira Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitya Mama. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna. Wherever there's a master of all mysticism, Krishna, and Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanardara, and wherever there's a devotee like Krishna who carries a bow, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanardara, Tatra Shir, beauty, or opulence, Tatra Shir Vijayo, and victory. Tatra Shir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva, auspiciousness, Dhruva Nitya, morality. They're certainly going to be there. In other words, Krishna is all auspicious, and the devotees of Krishna who are worshipping Krishna also become auspicious, and that's the actual point, that we won't get vanquished. If we think we're going to win every football game that we play because we're a devotee of Krishna, we're wrong. Or that every time I go to a casino and I make a bet because I'm a devotee of Krishna, I'll always win. No, actually the winning is to go back to the spiritual world or to become more Krishna conscious. That's victory. Other than that, everyone has to leave the body sooner or later. So the soul doesn't actually die when he leaves the body. Whether he's in the body or he's outside the body, for the spirit soul who's advanced in Krishna consciousness, it doesn't matter. Just like the king saw one of his sages, was giving some blessings. And he didn't understand what kind of blessings he was giving. He was seeing, there was one brahmachari, and there was one hunter, and there was one devotee, and he gave them all different blessings. And the prince, for the prince he said, I bless you, the sage, that you should not live and you should not die. Actually, he said, you should live forever. Actually, he told the prince, you should live forever. He said to the hunter, you should not live and you should not die. For the brahmachari, he said, you should die immediately. So watch out. who you get benedictions from. Go up to someone, can you give me some blessings of brahmachari? And the sage waves his hand, you should die immediately. Wait a second. Prabhupada marathon is coming up, at least. Give me a chance. And for the devotee, he said, whether you live or you die, it makes no difference. So the king was quite surprised, and he asked the minister, what does this all mean? So the minister said, for the prince, he's enjoying so much sense gratification that after he dies, he's certainly going to go to hell. So he should live forever, because then he won't have to go to hell. And for the brahmachari, he's engaged in so much austerity, or for the hunter, he's engaged in such abominable activities that he should die. But after he dies, he's going to go to hell, so he shouldn't die. So whether he lives or dies, he's going to suffer. And for the brahmachari, he's engaged in so much austerity, better he dies immediately and goes to Vaikuntha. And for the devotee, whether he's alive or dead, it makes no difference, because he's always in Vaikuntha anyhow. Narayana para sarage, kutasana vivyati, swarga apavarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshanaha. When Chitraketu was flying his celestial airplane over Kailas, where Lord Shiva had Parvati seating on his lap, surrounded by tens and thousands of sages, and Chitraketu made a remark. He thought it was a funny remark, but people don't take your humor properly, you might get into trouble. So he made some remark. He said, Lord Shiva is supposed to be Dhira, and he's sitting in the midst of all these sages, and he has a woman on his lap, as if he's a low-class man. So Lord Shiva understood that this was just a sarcastic joke, a family joke. But Parvati, she couldn't understand, and she immediately cursed Chitraketu, that you think you're better than Shiva, I curse you to become a demon. So Chitraketu was a very powerful devotee. He could have cursed Parvati. May he fall into Maya, because she is Maya. So. Anyhow, he didn't curse her. Instead, he came down from his celestial airplane, bowed down at her feet, and said, I accept the curse upon my head, and went back to his airplane. And so Lord Shiva said, just see, he's defeated you. Apparently, he's just been cursed to become a demon in the next lifetime, but his consciousness was unwavering. And therefore, he didn't really become a demon, as we see in the pastime of Vritrasura battling against Indra, where Vritrasura took the position of a devotee, and Indra was confused. He didn't know what he was doing. So he never lost his pure consciousness. As a matter of fact, it was all arranged by the Lord, so that Chitraketu Maharaj could actually go back to Godhead quicker. Therefore, Lord Shiva told Parvati, Narayana Parasarage. Those who are Narayana Parayana. So that's our goal, is to become Narayana Parayana, which is explained in different ways in the Bhagavad Gita as Mat Para. Thank you. Time for a water break. Matpara. We'll come back to Matpara in a second. So Narayana Para. How does one become a Narayana Parayana? Taking a lot of prasadam? Probably not. How does one, so, as I said yesterday, tad buddhayas tad atmanas tad nishtas tad parayanaha gatanyapana avritim gyanani dutu kamasha. So Krishna says the process is hear about him. Why? Because by hearing from the right source with the right attitude, we gain buddhi. Buddhi means intelligence. Not intelligence how to control try to control the illusory energy, the material energy, or to think we become something important in the eyes of others. No, intelligence, tadami buddhi yogam tam, by which we can come to Krishna. So what kind of intelligence? Tesham sadatam yukta, matshita, machkata prana, bodhyantash parashparam, gatayantasvam nityam tu shanti charamanti cha. How to utilize our prana, our energies, our life air, our activities engaged in Krishna service, and our chitta with enthusiasm. Tesham sadatam yuktam. How to increase the amount of time we're engaged in Krishna, thinking about Krishna. Tesham sadatam, or engaged in Krishna service in such a way is that we become Krishna conscious with enthusiasm, come to the platform of love, devotional service. So what kind of intelligence? Brahma bhuta prasanatma nashoshiti nakangshiti samak sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim lavate param. Principally, how to give up our hankering and our lamentation, and by doing so, learn to see all living entities on the same spiritual platform. As we read yesterday, Sarin mitya udasina madhyasta dveshu bandishu sadushvapita papeshu samabudhir vishishate. That a person who can see Sarin, what does Sarin mean? Anyone know? What's that? A friend, yes. Good friend. Sarin mitya, what does a mitya mean? Is that also a friend? What's that? Mitya. Mita. Prabhupada told one devotee, you should know every single word. Benefactors with affection. Sarin mitya udasana. What is udasana? What is udasana? It should be pretty easy. Actually, it's Sarin mitri, mitra, and then there's Ari. Who's Ari? What's that? Enemies, yeah. So there's friends, there's the benefactors, there's the enemies, and udasina. Yeah, you have it open up there? Or you know that? Yeah, that's right, neutral. Madhyasta, that's easy. What does madhya mean? What's that? Yeah, like madhyasta, he's not your friend, he's not your enemy, he's kind of like neutral. But here it says mediators between belligerents. ISKCON resolve people. Madhyasta dveshu bandishu, because dvesha is asta, midhyasta. Dvesha? Envious. We already had enemies. Now we have the envious. Madhyasta dveshu bandishu. Sadushvapi. Sadhu? Pious people. And papeshu. What's that? Sinful people. Samabudhira vishichate. To see them all the same. So what does that mean to see them all? To see the soul. That the soul is qualitatively equal in everyone. But due to their modes of material nature, they appear to us sometimes as Sarin, a friend, Mritri, a benefactor, Mitra, a benefactor, Ari, an enemy, Srin mitya udasina, as a in between, as some part of ISKCON resolve or something. Udasina, madhyasta dveshu bandishu. Actually, that's ISKCON resolve is in between. Udasina is what? Neutral. And then we have and then neutrals, and then the benefit, and then the mediators, madhyastha dvesha, and then the envious, the envious, the pious persons, and then the sinful persons. That Krishna, only due to their modes material nature, and our modes material nature, they appear sometimes in these different manners. But actually, they're simply instruments for Krishna. So one can see that it's actually Krishna approaching us for different reasons, for different purposes, but ultimately, it's all spirit. It's the super soul in a combination with the soul. Therefore, samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinasya vinashantam yak pashyati sapashyati. One who can see the Supreme Lord accompanying all beings and knows that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, he actually sees. Samam sarveshu, samam pashani sarvatra, samavastiti mishvaram, nihenastat minatmanam tatalyati paramgatim. One who can see the super soul equal everywhere in all bodies does not degrade himself by his mind unless he approaches the supreme destination. So according to this, seeing friends and enemies, different and partial, the pious, the sinful, simply assuming that is actually degrading for the mind. So we want to protect our mind, we have to become Krishna conscious. Just like we don't, for prasadam, take poison, because it would be harmful to our body. So not to see in Krishna consciousness is harmful to our minds. Is ultimately cause of our suffering in the material world. So to see everyone equally. So that's buddhi. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. If one engages in devotional service with enthusiasm, and then Krishna gives us the intelligence how to get freed from our hankering and lamentation, and how to see everyone equally, and perform as yari deka tarikaha, Krishna Upadesh, Amara Agai Guruhana Taridesh. Then whoever we meet, that we know we only have one business in dealing with them, try to help them become Krishna conscious. Whether they're enemies or different and partial, or Sarin, our friends, or Bandhu, a great friend, intimate friend, Dina Bandhu. Krishna is a great friend of the fallen. Whoever they are, our only business is to help them become Krishna conscious. Then we have Krishna is giving us real buddhi. Then our relation with Krishna is proper. Therefore, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Jagna tenena tena ham ishtak swamiti me mati. Adhyeshate chaya imam dharma sampadam avyo jnana vijnana tenaham ishtak swam iti me mati. So, adhyeshate chaya imam dharma sampadam avyam, that one who studies this conversation, he worships me by his intelligence. Adhyeshate chaya imam dharma sampadam avyam jnana jagnena tenaham ishtak swam iti me mati. So this buddhi is important, this hearing about Krishna, hearing about, especially Bhagavad Gita, or Srimad Bhagavatam, which is an expansion. Then the mind can be thinking about Krishna. We can actually see things in Krishna consciousness, not only theoretically with our buddhi, with intelligence, but also with our minds to actually experience it, feel, not only see everyone as a cutout for some, but actually see them as a living entity with feelings, etc., etc. That's the mind. When the intelligence becomes purified, then we can actually feel properly. Then by feeling properly, then we actually develop real faith in Krishna consciousness. It's not just some ordinary consciousness, it's a spiritual consciousness. Unless we feel spiritual, then how we know that Krishna consciousness is different from a material consciousness? then our real faith develops, liberation comes, and then parayana, then we can actually take real shelter of Krishna. So it's Narayana Parayana Sarge Kutasrana Vibhyate. So the devotees of Narayan, they're actually Parayana, so they're actually Narayana Parayana Sarge. Wherever they are, they're always in Krishna consciousness. Kutasrana Vibhyate. Swarga Apravarga Narakeshu, whether in heaven or hell, or whatever they are. Swarga and heaven, Swarga Apavarga liberation, Narakeshu, Tulyapi Darshana. They see everyone as Krishna's servant, and therefore they're not afraid of anything. They know everything is under Krishna's control, and their only business is to serve Krishna in some way, whatever their position. So that's possible by hearing and then understanding how everything belongs to Krishna. Chaitasa sarvakaramani maya sanyasya matparaha buddhi yoga mupashitya machita satatam bhava. Understanding everything belongs to Krishna, and I should find out from Krishna and his representatives what they want me to do. I'm a servant of the servant of Krishna. And if I do that with enthusiasm and love, then the result is that Krishna will appear before me in my heart. I'll remember Krishna. So that's the perfection of life. That's defeat. Paravastava bodha jato yavana jignasita atma tattvam yavan kriyatavadi dhamvido mag karmatmaka yena sharira bandha. One is said to be defeated by the illusory energy as long as he doesn't inquire about Atma Tattva. But if one is actually engaged in experiencing and realizing one's real identity, then one is defeating the material energy, as King Chitraketu did. And she's happy that when she gets defeated. Because then our mind becomes uncovered. What is that first word of that the one before that, the verse before that? Kama? No, it's not kama. Where it says that, what's the verse before that? What's that? Yeah, Maharaj Shabdev. The one before Paravastava Bodha Jata. Nunam pramata kurute vikarma did indriyas pritya aprinoti nasada manye yata atmano yam asanapi kleshada ashadeha. So, Nunam, it's indeed amazing. Maharaj Shabdev is amazed. Nunam pramata, the people are so crazy. Kurute, that they're doing. Vikarma, sinful activity. All in the name of becoming happy. It's like taking a hammer and beating on your fingers, on your thumb, to become happy. Does anyone want to, is that the formula for happiness? Taking a hammer and just smashing your finger? Nunam pramata kurute vikarma yet indriya pritya aprina, all due to the affection for sense gratification. Same thing over and over again. Instead of having affection for Krishna, we have affection for our senses, demanding sense gratification. We're so kind to our senses. Nunam pramata kurute vikarma yet indriya pritya aprinoti nasado manye. So he thinks that a real person who's a sadhu, intelligent, pious, nasadamanya, doesn't think like that. Nasadamanya yata atmano yam asanapi kleshada ashada. Because it's all temporary and miserable. Asanapi kleshada ashadaya. So this nunam pramata kurute vikarma did indriya pritya aprinoti Nasadamanya yat atmano yam asana pikleshada ashadeha. So, it's klesha. It's one who's involved in especially the threefold miseries. Adi Daivika, Adi Bodhika, Adi Klesha, Adi Atmaka miseries. Plus, Janma Mrityu Jaravyadi Dukkha Dosha Nudarshana. Birth, death, old age, and disease. Therefore, one is said to be defeated if one is loving his senses and trying to gratify them endlessly, unrestrictedly, by the illusory energy. Pravastava abodha jata, by the mode of ignorance predominantly, abodha jata, yavana jignasita atma tattva, and not even any thought about self-realization. Just dedicating one's life completely to gratifying the senses. And what happens by doing that? Pravastava abodha jata, yavana jignasita atma tattvam, yavan kriyat tattva idam mano avai. Then the mind becomes covered by the modes of nature. Karmatmaka yena shri. And one has to take one body after another. Therefore, the formula of success is that Pritirna yavan mai vasudeva. How does that start? That one should, what's the next verse after that? You have that verse there? Pritirna yavan mai vasudeva nimuchante yena Deha yogena tadvat. Something. What's the first word of the next in the third? What? Evamana karma prasamnim punyukte avididatma upadiyamane. So as long as one's mind is covered, we have all these upadis. I am a man. I am a woman. I am from this country, that country. So many upadis. We have no idea who we are. We just identify with this gross and subtle body. What's the first word again? Evam manakaram prasam pranyukde avididatman upadiyamane. This upadiya, these upadis, were covered by. And pritirna yavan mai vasudeva. So as long as one is covered by these upadis, these false identifications with the gross and subtle body, pritirna yavan mai vasudeva, as long as one is not developing love for Vasudeva, then Pratirna yavan maya Vasudeva nimunchite. There's no question of liberation. Nimunchite yena tadvat. What's that word I left out? Nimunchite yena deho yadvat. One has to take one body after another. Not very auspicious. Therefore, remember Krishna and take shelter of Krishna as a Narayana Parayana, following the formulas. So I'll stop there. Any questions? Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam kavibir idridam kamala sarpanam sarva mangalam shrimad atadam bhuvi grinanti ye burida jana. So what does that mean? Anyone remember? Kavakatamritam, what does that mean? What's that?
The nectar of your words or of your pastimes.
Yes. Tavakatamritam. Tapta jivanam. What does tapta mean? It's not a top of something. What does tapta mean? Dharmak pranujitam. Dharmak pranujitam. Does that have the word tapta in there? It's one of the first verses that has tapta in it. Tapta, yeah. Dharmak prayojita kaitavotra paramoni matsaran of sutam vedam vastu atra vastu shivadam tapa. What does tapa mean? Top it off? What's that? No, that's, yeah, I guess it could mean austerity, but it means heating up. But there's a difference, there's tapta. Tapasya is austerity. Tapta means misery. Tapta jivana. So the miseries, it takes away the miseries of material existence. Tava katamritam tapta jivana. It takes away the suffering of the living entities. Then Srimad Atatam. No, it's not true. That comes later. Kavibir Iditam, the great sages, the Kavibirs, Kavibir Idrisam, they broadcast this knowledge. Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam, Kavibir Iditam, and then Kamala Sarpana. What does Kamala Sarpana mean?
Bitten by the snake of desire?
Probably something like that. Sinful activities. It takes away the sinful activities of the living entities. Kamala Sarpana. Sarvala Mangalam. What does Sarva Mangala mean? What does Mangal mean? Yes. Sarva Mangala. Srimad Atatam. Srimad means full of all opulences and spread everywhere. Spreading the opulences everywhere. And Buri Jikarinanti. Those who hear and chant in this world. Ye Burida Jana. What is Burida Jana? Like Burijan. Burijan. What is Burida? Yeah, they're the most beneficent in this world. Burija, people in this world. So we should all become the most beneficent people in this world. Tell people about Krishna. We'll solve all these problems. Spreading Krishna. We'll give people nectar. We'll take away their misery. We'll give the words of the great sages, real good advice. And we'll be able to take away their sinful activity, their reactions to the sinful activities. We'll give something all auspicious, all opulent, and we'll become the greatest benefactors of humanity. Just tell people to chant Hare Krishna. Or chant Hare Krishna. Okay, any questions, comments? Okay. Khala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Kavibir Idita.